Welcome, heathens! How are you guys doing today? I hope you're doing all right. Today I'm here with hiith. Am I pronouncing that right?
It's pronounced hiith.
Heath? Okay, sorry. I'm terrible with names.
Oh
So
no, it's difficult. I know, I did on purpose.
okay, we're here with Heath. If you haven't seen Heath's channel or any of his videos, I will have his channel link down below. Definitely go check him out. He's got some great content over there. And today we're just gonna get to know Heath a little bit. Talking about his religious past, and then we'll kind of do a little bit of a retrospective later on. So. Heath, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty all right.
All right. So, now tell us a little bit about like your channel to start off with. Have you been on YouTube long, or has this kind of been a new thing?
I've been on YouTube for a year and a half. Maybe it's almost 2 years. I forget. I remember it was in August. But my channel focuses mainly on responding to religious arguments, either for the existence of God or against atheism. That's really what I focus on. Every now and then I try to branch off to different things, but for one reason or another, I keep coming back to that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's kind of an interesting topic, at least to me, and to a lot of my subscribers. So, I'm kind of curious, what kind of religious background did you have like growing up?
Well, growing up, like my parents were, well, they're divorced, and I've seen both of them, but I grew up mainly with my mom, who was Catholic and felt very strongly about her religion, but we never really went to church much. We did go to vacation Bible school and what was it, catechism. So I learned about Catholicism, but it never really meant much to me. But my dad was Protestant, fundamentalist Christian. And after a while, I learned more about religion from him, and I became just as fundamentalist Christian as he was, maybe more so, which is, I sort of really fell into the deep end from that, reading the Bible pretty much every day. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, like what how did you read the Bible? Like did you just read the certain excerpts, or did you like read it front like cover to cover?
I started in the New Testament. I read Matthew, then kind of skipped a bunch because I got bored, John, and then epistles. And after that, I was going to read the Old Testament, but by then I had lost my religion. But yeah, like that was like really important to me at one time.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of curious like when you were a fundamentalist Christian, about like what age ranges was that?
It was actually kind of young. I It started when I was 12, and I deconverted or became an atheist 16, 17 maybe. It may sound kind of young, and if a religious person were to hear that, I was like, oh, you didn't really know much about Christianity. But I was really delving deep into this, even at that young age.
Okay. Well, like when you became a fundy Christian, did like what was the reaction to like your mom or your friends and other parts of your family?
Well, my family in general, my mom's side didn't really care. My mom didn't like that I wasn't Catholic. Um, but my dad's side of the family is insanely religious, so I was welcome there. I
Okay.
can't say that it I can't say that it mattered much with like friends or anything. Although I know in a couple of relationships I was with, I was kind of I didn't really get along too well, especially since I was homophobic, and not everybody took kindly to that. So
Okay. So would you be more of the like Westboro Baptist kind of fundy Christian, or was it less extreme?
extreme is that, but there's definitely some bigoted sentiment.
Okay. So now, what kind of got you questioning like the faith? Like you're a really deep in there, fundy Christian. Like what happened to make you start kind of looking outside of the faith?
It's really tough to say, honestly. Um, I more just started having my own questions that I didn't really have an answer to. It wasn't like the problem of evil, because I think I had some sort of justification for that, but it's more along the lines of like people in Asia or say Africa who have never heard of Christianity died not accepting Jesus. Did they go to hell? And I didn't know whether or not. So from there, I kind of just had more and more questions that couldn't really be answered extremely well until of I found this atheist community online that I'm now a part of.
Okay. So there was no the like okay, so you were confused about whether or not people went to hell. What kind of responses did you get from like people that like did you ask like your father or other family members like about that particular concept, or how did you go about investigating that?
I don't think that I actually investigated that particular question that much, but I do know there were some people who said that, everybody's heard of Jesus. Everybody is given that opportunity, but I couldn't be convinced of that. Like even if they heard of Christianity, like the way people in other countries grew up, probably aren't teach taught it as, truth. That's the only response that I think I remember, but yeah,
Oh,
a lot of questions that I had, I can't really remember the specifics too well, but in general, they had answers, but not good answers like that.
right. Yeah, I mean that's what I found as well. I actually had a friend of mine question me like in a parking lot after a softball game, telling me that if I didn't believe the Bible completely, that I'm just not a real Christian. And of course, I know that now to be a no true Scotsman fallacy, but at the time I didn't. So I just, I investigated from there. Like that's not where I lost my faith, but that's what got me on the path to questioning it. Um, so I'm kind of curious, like after you started questioning and you started falling out of the faith, was this like a long time span that happened, or was it like a light switch?
It was gradual, maybe over the course of a couple months or so, I'd say. Yeah, like I don't think you could just easily switch your religion, especially when you are part of that true Christian camp as I was.
How does it? I'm wondering, how does it make you feel when like Christians now tell you that, oh, you weren't a real Christian when you were a Christian, like you didn't really believe or you didn't really understand the faith.
It, the thing is, I get it because I was that way at one point. I was taught that, a true Christian doesn't deconvert. I sort of understand what they're coming from. I know it's ridiculous now, and it's kind of hard to argue against them because they won't accept any argument. But I maybe I'm unique in the fact that I understand their perspective from their perspective.
Okay. So I'm wondering, after you fell out of the faith, did you like tell people that you were now an atheist? Like, were you pretty vocal about it immediately, or did you kind of keep it on the down low at first?
I didn't really tell anyone. I didn't really have a reason to. Um, and anyone that I did tell would probably be upset, at least within my family.
Hmm.
Um, I do know eventually I told my brothers, and I was kind of surprised to find that they weren't religious either, which I didn't know until I brought it up. Um, I think I did tell my dad eventually, which he seemed surprisingly supportive, which was kind of odd. But other than that, nobody really knows except my aunt, who, on my dad's side, who was also fundamentalist Christian. And she just started, questioning me and why and giving me the same proof of God that I've heard time and time again. It was kind of amusing, honestly.
Yeah, you always gotta love that one relative that always wants to challenge you at like family gatherings or whatnot. So, is there any particular argument that she's kind of levied your way that you feel is like particularly bad?
Um, I don't know. It's been a while. I have terrible memory. Sorry. Um, Not really. I know the issue of the ancient Hebrew model of the universe, which was flat inside of a dome. I kind of brought that up, and and I don't know. It basically boils down to like some of this part. It's like poetry. It's poetic. It's not meant to be taken literally. Like that sort of stuff came up when it felt more like a dismissal. Like, oh, they didn't really mean that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of curious. After you started questioning your religion, you mentioned that you were starting to watch videos from the YouTube atheist community, or looking at articles or whatnot from it. I'm just kind of curious, who like in the community did you really start paying attention to, or was there no certain like one person?
I know the first person that I came across was Armored Skeptic. I know that. And somewhere along the line, I also found Logicked. I don't know if it was through him or what, but like I found Logicked more interesting because I felt he like responded more directly, especially to his Kent Oven stuff,
Mm-hmm.
who were the main guys that I listened to early on.
Okay. No, yeah, I think Logic's Kent Hovind series is awesome. And I mean, Armored Skeptic, I mean, he's a really great guy. And when he does his debunks of like scientific and religious like crap, I mean, I think he does especially well. So, those were very good people to come into it. So now I'm kind of curious, like, is there any difference, like, in you? Like, I know that we can probably already infer, like, some differences. One thing being the homophobic nature, I'm guessing, change. But, like, are there any other major, like, personality differences or anything like that?
Um, Not really. I mean, other than my political view, which was never really educated at first, but now I understand more of what I'm talking about as far as politics in general. But as far as my personality, nothing really has changed except for the homophobia. Although I do know, like, it really changed the way that I started thinking. It got me thinking about, why I accepted things as true, why I believed certain things. It got me to like really analyze what I thought and why I believed things, and started to get me to like scrutinize whether things are really true or not.
No, that's very good. Because I mean, we all kind of need to, have that kind of moment, after coming out of especially a fundamentalist Christian religion, being able to critically think about things. I'm kind of curious. Is there like anything Like, was there any kind of like guilt that was lifted off of your shoulders, or anything like that after coming out of religion?
No, not really. Honestly, it was just really disappointing because, like, that was everything to me. That was what I dedicated my life to. And then to slowly come to the realization that it's not reasonable. Y- y- It's really difficult to accept that there is no God watching us and that there is nothing after this life as far as we know. Particularly difficult. So honestly, at least at first,
Okay. I'm glad you brought up like the fact that we don't subscribe to like an afterlife or anything like that. A lot of times Christians now will say that atheists have no value for life at all. I mean, considering that we don't see an afterlife, how do you feel about Christians that, or well, not Christians, but how do you feel about that statement in general?
I, I mean, of course, we value life. I mean, the way I see it, you value life no matter what your religion teaches you, except some of us who don't value life at all. But for the most part, the way you value life isn't dependent on your belief. And if you don't believe that there's an afterlife, it's oh so more important to live your life now. Christianity teaches you that this life is pretty much nothing. So you have to dedicate it all to the afterlife. And from my perspective, wasting your life away. As an atheist, you really cherish your life now, as well as the lives of other people. But that's more of a moral thing. It affects how you feel about your life more, I find.
Right. No, yeah, I totally agree with you there. Now, is there any kind of like good advice that you could give like a new atheist, or possibly a Christian that is like questioning, like in that in between time between religion and atheism? Like, is there any kind of good advice you can give that person?
If you're doubting your belief in religion, the best thing you can do is just really look into it. Look into it from both sides and see which one makes the most sense. I know to me, atheism made a hell of a lot more sense, or at least atheist arguments. Um, but just really look into it. And yeah, and if you're if you just lost your religion, you're newly atheist or no longer believe in a god, then the loss of the idea of an afterlife, that really can take a toll. It can really suck, but the fear that you have of death, like right now, isn't going to be that strong. It's You're not going to be that afraid all the time. So, like if you're struggling with that, it might be best just to calm down, I guess. You know,
Okay. You don't really seem like, as a newer atheist, like you don't seem mad really. Did you ever go through that kind of phase, or were you always just kind of this chill?
oh no, I never really felt I never really felt the need to insult anyone. And I know like when I was religious, I think I came across the Amazing Atheists videos, which back then he talked a lot about religion and he was very, vulgar. And I didn't like that. I much liked the approach of taking arguments and showing why those are wrong. And that's kind of why like I do what I do. I don't want to insult the religious, but I want to show them why I think their reasoning is flawed. And I feel like that would be far more palatable for anybody who is religious, to watch my videos and consider. And when I decided to start making videos, it was because like I felt I had enough to say. And that's really what it's about. Giving my point of view and my reasoning to those who are, doubting their religion. And those people aren't really going to appreciate being insulted. That's kind of how I think of it.
Right. But I guess that's kind of where we differ in our approach, because I mean, I don't mind insulting religious people, but I generally try not to attack the person. I'm generally attacking the idea or the religion. But I do also think that atheist activists such as yourself, who take a more democratic approach, a softer approach to it, are very much needed in the community. And
Yeah.
so I'm glad that you're taking that particular route. I'm glad that you do have a channel where religious people are coming on, and they're not feeling attacked.
Yeah. And I find that channels like yours or the Amazing Atheist, who are a little more vulgar, those tend to appeal more towards people who are already atheist and already feel as strongly as you do. So yeah, there's definitely a place for both.
No, yeah, I totally agree. I've That's one thing that a lot of people mistake about my channel, as like, oh, if you want religious people to listen to you, you don't need to act like this. And it's like, well, my content's not geared towards religious people. It's geared towards an atheist community. But I mean, like your channel would have been one of the channels that I would have stumbled upon, and I would have watched like every time they uploaded a video. And I mean, I've been trying to keep up with your videos now. I haven't been watching long, but I mean, I have just only recently found you.
Yeah, I know. And I know there's a lot of people that I would love to keep up with, including yours, but I just don't have the time to watch
Yeah.
everyone.
Well, you see, that's the benefit of my job, because I'm a software engineer and I just sit on my butt all day and I write code. So, I mean, I just have a video going in the background most times, and I pretty much, it's gotten to the point now where I run out of videos that I can actually watch. And so I'll start listening to music or something. But yeah, no, I do try to keep up with the community's videos in general. So, well, is there any last words that you want to give to the audience, or any new atheists that might be out there, or anything like that? Any final thoughts?
Um, Not much. Just if you're questioning, just look into it. Maybe consider my channel, HIITH, Heath. You know,
Heath.
yeah. It was originally going to be hiith, but it was a bit too difficult for some people to get. So I was like, Heath is okay. And what I think is funny is that since day one, the IPA has been in my channel description, but everyone still asks, and that amuses me the most.
Well, I'm kind of curious, like, what made you start making videos? Like, is there any, like, did you just see a particularly asinine video and you're just like, oh, I've got to get in on this, and you started making them?
No, it was more of like I really got engrossed. I think that's the word, but like really like interested in videos from atheists responding to religious people. And it got to a point where I wasn't really satisfied with the way they were answering what they were saying. And I felt like I could answer it more directly or in a better way. And eventually got to a point where I thought I might as well do this myself. So I did.
Yeah. Do you have any like favorite YouTube channels that you just consistently keep up with now?
Um, I'm not really consistent with keeping up anything anymore. But I am a fan of the Bible Reloaded. Um, that's pretty much it. I watch so many other ones, but not enough to be really consistent.
Right. Well, I know you did a collaboration with Professor Stick a little ways back.
Yeah, we did a couple of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I do watch his stuff, but I kind of don't always have the time.
Hiith, I really appreciate you joining me today. I hope everybody will go down to the description below and check out his channel. You know, I hope you'll all be watching. Make sure you tell him that GE sent you and that you're a heathen.
All right, well, thanks for having me.
No, thanks for being on. And I will see you heathens later.